Good morning. Can you people hear me?
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Can you folks see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
And how many people expected in the class today? What is the strength of the class?
Around 20.
So let's wait for before 5 minutes. This is what class is this? What is the group called? What cohort is this?
No idea actually.
No, you should be knowing in the sense, are you part of the 6 months program or is it 1 year program or 2 year MBA program? What part of this course are you doing?
Six months.
6 months digital marketing, right?
Yeah. Not digital market, brand management.
Brand management. And have I taught you before any classes? No, not only the first one.
Yeah, it's a first class from your side.
Okay. Cool. Has anyone worked in agencies before? Advertising agencies or working in agencies, dealing with agencies?
I work in agency.
Which one?
I work at Shabang.
Sorry?
Shabang, Mumbai.
Okay.
My company, I work with an agency. I work with an agency.
Okay, so it'll be great. I mean, it's a small class. It's not very large. So it'll be good if you can put your cameras on, if you can, that is. But at least I get to see who you are. And when I'm taking class, at least I know you people are nodding your heads or not in front of a camera. So it'll be good. Say good. Yeah, then it's a class, right? So thanks. Yeah, tell me. So going at who was talking? Pooja was, right? Yeah.
Yes. We work with agents. My company works with 2 or 3 agencies for different projects.
Mm-hmm.
So we are a real estate company. So depending.
Nice. Anyone else has had experiences, brushes with agencies?
Yes, I have. I work in an agency.
Can you identify yourself, please? I can see your name.
Yeah, Samlata.
Okay.
I work for Leo Burnett.
You work for Leo Burnett. Oh, nice. Where, in which city?
I actually currently it is work from home, but I work for Leo Burnett, Delhi.
Okay. And where are you servicing creative? What do you do?
Copywriter.
Copywriter. Nice. Good. How many years for you in Leo Burnett?
It will be a year now.
Oh, okay. Nice. So how long, I mean, how far have you progressed in this course? Is it just started, or is it midway, or are you completing, what is it, the 6 months program?
Started in July.
Started in July. Okay, we are now in October, right? Okay. So another 2 months you'll get over. Cool.
Hi, good morning, sir. This is Diksha from upGrad.
Hi, Diksha.
Hi, I believe 17 folks are already there and we can start with the session.
We can start. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Morning. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks. So I will have to do the poll later, right, Diksha? What is?
Yeah, at the end, you just have to release the poll.
Okay. Cool. Thanks. Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. So anybody not talking, just mute yourself so that there is some background noise when somebody's laptop. I'm not sure who. Can you all mute yourself so that if I ask you, maybe you can join? But otherwise, I'd like to have you folks contribute, ask questions. Let it not be a one-way broadcast. It'll be good if you can give some responses as we go along. So, okay, let me quickly, I don't know if, since you're meeting me for the first time, this is who I am. So my name is Jagannath. People call me Jaggi, and got more than 25 years work experience. I started my career in advertising though. So I started my career in Mudra long ago. Worked there for almost 6 years, and then moved on to multiple other companies. So been in marketing guy, been in tech marketing, been FMCG, done LinkedIn, multiple things. Yeah. So what I'll today, I mean, today's class is not really a heavy class. It's like more like understanding what happens in the agency, how agency is structured, what are the various things that drive agencies, what kind of people play what kind of roles, those kind of things. So primarily it is more like FYI and more information. It'll be light and quick, so we should hopefully be done in about an hour's time. But if you have any questions, I'll keep prompting you for any questions that you might have. So please feel free to stop and ask in case you have any doubts. Okay, and I'd like some responses. Otherwise, it'll look like I'm talking to myself, looking at my own self in the screen, right? So cool. So by now, what we'll do is we'll do a quick recap of what roles, what are the various things that drive an agency from a brand understanding perspective, why and what kind of competencies come in, what are the important roles, structures, responsibilities, some workflows, and then we also talk about advertising careers in case people like yourselves who are doing this like an upskilling course. So obviously people will like to have some kind of career options, choices in case you took a look at advertising. So we'll talk about that. Okay, so we'll do a quick recap. So branding, I'm sure all of you have already done some classes on branding, worked on brands, understand what brands do and how this whole thing works. So branding definitely does these few things, and which is what we all try and as managers or brand managers or people who own brands or work with agencies, whatever, right? So all of us have to understand what a brand does because we are custodians of our own respective brands, right? So brand obviously promotes recognition, which is important. Brand raises the whole product above a commodity. So you're no longer a faceless, nameless entity. The moment you call yourself a brand and you live for something, you raise yourself and de-link yourself from the other commoditized brands. You justify premium. So a Nike shoe with the swoosh on, then you'll want to pay $5,000 without that tag or without the emblem or without whatever it's called a brand. It becomes maybe you'll not pay more than 500 rupees, right? So any of these things, a shirt, pen, anything. So anything that's a brand, obviously you can justify premium because it comes with multiple things. And that's what we build. How do brands justify premium? Why should people pay something more than what pay than the most obvious product cost, right? So that's why it is. It also helps you build emotional bonds with the customer. It provides you deliver something called a brand promise, and that these are terms and terminologies I'm sure all of you would have heard, read, understand this quite well by now. Anything you want to ask me, I can explain to you, but otherwise I'm sure these are all not alien terms to you, and this is what all of us work towards as brand managers or branding folks or marketing managers, right? This I'm sure also you would have seen, heard in your courses somewhere, which is the IDA model, which is a very simplistic model of how things move in people's in customers' heads, how they evaluate, how they choose you. Everybody typically goes through this, what we call as a hierarchical model in inverted funnel. It basically says you start with awareness, interest, desired action. That is how in the earlier traditional model, we synthesize choice of brands into an action. I'm aware of so many brands, and something happens to be in my I'm interested in something, then interest to desire. Matlab, I need something to I want something. I need a shoe to I want Nike, right? That is the leap that you take from interest to desire. Then action, obviously, is today's action is either the ads help prompt you to click on something or make you go to a store or do something, right? Some call to action or call up somebody, deliver, blah, blah, right? So this is broadly the set of steps that one takes as a customer, and that's what you prompt. And different times, different kind of advertising comes into play. How do I create advertising? How do I create interest? How do I create something far interesting, which basically says, from interest to desire, and then how do I prompt people to call me or click on the button or know more about me, whatever, right? So, and then there is also multiple. I mean, this is not the only model, but there are many models in marketing and advertising, which gives you pretty much similar thing. But this is a very simplistic stuff. Just to have you guys read about this somewhere, or have you been taught in any of your classes, courses on branding? Anyone? Have you? Is it completely new to you folks?
No, we are basically aware, sir.
You're aware, right? Good, cool. And then this equivalent of drip and so multiple models, right? So this is all what it is. And then obviously, so this is what happens, right? So there are a set of advertisers, and then there's customers, and there are intermediaries, which is basically an agency, and then the set of media vehicles and media avenues that the agencies choose to reach a customer. This is broadly, and so agencies play an extremely pivotal role somewhere in the middle between the customers and the brand owners. Brand owners typically are the folks who own the brands, make the products, are using and devoting time creating what they're good at, which is creating products. And agencies are somewhere in between, who understand the creative process, understand brands, understand and bring a lot of things onto the table as services, which is where the advertisers come into picture, and therefore then there are the other revenues, right? So internet and media, radio, print, television, radio, whatever, right? And then the customers choose to, and there are a lot of things happen in between. So we'll just go through a few of these things just to let you know how these agencies function. Some of it, 80% you would know, but let's give it a shot. Okay. Types of advertising, I'm sure you know this already, which is ATL, BTL, and through the line. ATL primarily is the broadcast one-to-many, like the largely non-targeted, but segmented in some ways. For example, television, radio, newspaper, print, those kind of things, which basically are the ones that are, for example, if I choose to reach out to housewives between the age of, say, 25 and 45, middle class, whatever, such that definition, broad target audience definition, I might choose to use the mass media stuff, right? Print, television, radio, because they will be doing certain things and whatever. Likewise, but then, however, I might also reach people who are younger than them and above them. So it is what it is. So therefore, this broadly is a largely non-targeted in some way, but you can at least reach out to certain segments of target audience to the mass media. The below the line is more tactical, more in sharp, more focused on reminder, more focused on specific target groups or whatever, right? For example, I live in Bangalore. If I were to, for example, advertise the laptops to techies, right? Young techies. So where would I go? I put it in Whitefield, or any of these large places where you have these large software houses, right? So maybe those things. Or if I want to target school bags, maybe I'll put it in front of some schools, right? And in front of NPS, in front of Delhi Public School, whatever. So these are more tactical. Or for example, I want to remind people of a particular discount. I put some danglers in store, those kind of stuff. So basically, these are stuff are a little more tactical. I want to do a specific task as an outcome. So that's what I do. And through the line is what is the newest stuff these days, which is where anything that uses cookies, our behaviors attract the way we, for example, this is my surfing pattern. Depending on my surfing pattern, I'm shown products, I'm recommended stuff, those kind of stuff. So basically, through the line is a little more technical. Technology is used here, which is where it marries digital, it marries the offline stuff, but at the same time, you're trying to help customers try and reach, or rather, you reach them through their through what they do. Like it is on the web primarily. So basically, through the line is a newer, more technical use of technology in some sense, because of be it on phone, be it on your surfing patterns, where you're served certain targeted ads or shown certain things that you want to be shown. Right? Any questions till now? All good?
It's clear.
Okay, cool. So let's look at some roles and functions of agencies at this point in time. So what do agencies do? As I said, agencies primarily are offering service. They offer services. When I say services, agencies has certain functions, right? Agencies are expected to know about brands, expected to know about a lot of other things that they offer. For example, creative services, which is where somebody who works in Leo, but she's a copywriter, right? She thinks, she knows how to articulate things. She has good power on English or command on how she thinks. So basically you're putting idea into action, and therefore also agencies create some stuff, all the print stuff that is done, or television, multiple things happen in agency, right? So I'll tell you how the whole thing happens. But yeah, but agencies primarily provide services, which are creative services, and then the media services. Media services primarily are negotiating. How do you negotiate media? How do you figure out what media is good for you? How do you plan for media? How do you schedule media? Those kind of stuff. And then agencies also these days are, when it's a full service agencies, they give you many more things. They come with research, they give you research offerings, they do PR, they do out of home, they do digital, multiple things. That's why agencies are also evolving as per the times and needs of what the current situation is. For example, when I started my advertising career, obviously we didn't have even internet. Internet was just about coming then, right? Late 90s. So yeah, I mean, for us, internet was not even there. We didn't even know what the power of advertising that point, or the power of the internet was. We obviously did only the traditional stuff, which is television, print, radio, outdoor, right? Which was only for. But through the years, I've seen myself, for so many years, that how the needle is tilted and moving more into digital, and how the power of digital targeting, blah, blah, right? So all that we know now, SEM, SEO, everything else. So agencies also have to evolve and figure out build those competencies and have those kind of people, right? So as I said, a full function agencies typically have broadly these. You have research, you have advertising planning, creative, media, you have sales promotions, you have public relations, multiple things. Agencies do a lot of things, and as an offering, each of them is a complete function by itself. People with different competencies man these functions. Like for example, sorry, Abhishek bhaiya, aap thoda mute kudenge. Abhishek, can you mute yourself, please? Abhishek, right? His name? Yeah. Or can I mute him? Yeah. Cool. So yeah, so these are people with different competencies, and and for example, people in PR come with different backgrounds and different. And PR is a career by itself, right? People.
Yes, thank you.
Folks, can you please mute yourself? It's a little annoying that people talk into unmuted phones or laptops. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so each of these functions, as I said, has its own career paths. People build careers in these things, and research is a world by itself. People do postgraduates in research and marketing research, likewise creative functions, likewise in media, likewise in public. So all of these things are really robust functions by themselves, and typically a full service agency would ideally give all these functions under one roof, but there are specialist agencies which also work on each of these things as we go. So let's look at the key departments in agency. Like you have account services. Account here is not accounts, not like the finance accounts. Account is primarily a client. A client is called an account. Like for example, if Leo Burnett is handling, for example, Fiat is an account for them. Leo Burnett is handling whatever. Fruity is an account, right? That way. So each client that you work on is an account. Then you have creative teams, media planners, production, researchers, and these are broadly the critical functions. So let's look at the broad structure. Agency typically will have account management. Account management would be people who are the folks who are liaising with the end clients on behalf of the agency. This is what is called a servicing team. Servicing team typically would be the guys who take briefs from customers, a brief from the clients, a brief from the accounts. They are the people who are engaging for new business, for new clients. They're the folks who are are managing the invoicing, deliverables. Basically, they are the guys who are interfacing with the external world. Then your account planning is a little different. Account planning typically is a function that little more cerebral, cranial people come here. They're the folks who have understanding of the various domains and the markets and segments. They are the people who are connecting the dots. They are the guys who give cues, or they're able to think through certain clutter. Account guys are literally doing the drudgery of running around. Account planning is a think tank. They are the folks who understand the creative process. They're liaising with the end customers. They're liaising with the internal folks. But they are the guys who are like the think tank. They are the people who give nuggets of the sparks of brilliance at times to the creative folks as well to really work on the right stuff. Creative is like the heart of the agency in some ways, and agencies are good or bad typically on what output it is. Right, you judge by what kind of creative output you provide or what things you deliver. So creative is really the heartbeat of the agency. So you have broadly two segments there. You have some people call the copy guys, people who write, think in words and visual words, and the other people are called art or visualizers. They are the people who think in visual, right? They are the guys who can visualize. Okay, is idea ko, how can I see it? Maybe he says, okay, we should look at it as a nice couple walking into sunset. Now that sunset can be, is it sunset on a beach or a sunset on a cycle? Sunset driving into sunset? Or is it sunset on mountain? Is what the art guys think. The copy guy will say great sunset, right? Whatever. So that's how it works. Basically, somebody's writing, somebody is seeing it or bringing it to life. For example, and also copy these days has not necessarily all copy has written in English or in Hindi. People think in multiple languages. Things have to be translated. So these days, in my time, obviously, we used to have primarily English copywriters. But great lines have been written in Hindi as well. For example, the great line I can think of is LIC, right? LIC is Kal bhi, aaj bhi, kal bhi, right? It's a brilliant line. It's also powerful when it's done in Hindi. But I'm sure it's not the best when you translate in English, right? Yesterday, today, tomorrow, whatever. It doesn't sound as good. But the power, therefore, you have to think these things very differently, and the power of the spoken word is really appreciated now. And I'm sure all of us know how certain vernacular language ads have really done a great job. The other function is a studio. Studio is a back office operation. Studio typically is like the setup. They are the guys who have archives for all the stuff. They'll usually have a dark room for quick photographs, quick replication, enlarging something, replicating something, those kind of stuff. Basically, there's a little, and folks here are the guys who are helping the visualizers and the art directors to help get something out on prints or paper or some special material, whatever. So the studio is the guy who's coordinating all the stuff. These days, studios their stuff is getting ceasing to exist because the Macs themselves do a lot of stuff what the studios did in the earlier times, right? The power of all the software that's available to the creative folks and the art folks are really high. So the studios are diminishing in the value because you pretty much do a lot of stuff on a Mac or something, right? So that's good enough. Then the back office stuff like accounts, legal, IT, HR, whatever, right? So these are important functions because with a lot of stuff coming in these days around privacy laws, GDPR, blah, blah, right? So legal plays an extremely important role. So they are the folks who negotiate contracts with the clients on multiple things. IT is playing an extremely important role because IT again has become very powerful because today you want to have the best applications, you're running on faster networks, you're uploading big files, you're working on movies, production studios, but IT is very critical, right? So in my times, the studio used to be like people who used to cut words and paste and blah, blah, right? It was more manual, and therefore you had people who did very, very specific tasks in a production studio, whatever. But now it's all, you need to have the best of the best in terms of platforms and your software, right? And plus security, you cannot have people like it. So basically, it's a full-fledged IT function. and accounts and whatever is there. So this is broadly a structure of an agency. If anyone what you were to ever wanting to start an agency, this is broadly the set of people that you would start with, and how to manage the whole thing. Cool. All be okay? Okay, so as I said, let's get into each of them a little more deeply in detail. So account management, servicing, what usually people call servicing executives, or most important department. So they are the folks who are the front-facing staff. They are the guys who are translating the briefs to. When I say a brief primarily is the client articulating his requirement. The client saying, okay, I want to launch a new variant of this shoe. I want to launch this product line for women. I want to launch these bags for school children. I want to launch this drink for old people for energy, whatever, right? So depending on what it is, you understand these are the guys who are pretty much are MBAs from good B schools. They're asking the right questions. They understand how this whole process works. Basically, they're having a good conversation. So whatever the client is trying to broadcast, these client executives, client servicing guys are trying to imbibe, understand, and they come and brief the folks internally back home in the agency. And responsibility include negotiating, and they are the guys who are running the business, running the agency. They are the folks who are getting in the money, invoicing, getting in the briefs, selling the clients, the creatives that these guys do. So primarily they are the guys. In some ways, it's quite a tough job. I wasn't servicing myself, so you did a lot of stuff where you didn't have any control on things, right? So you pretty much fell back on everybody else's inputs and help and whatever. So you had to manage this whole. You're like an orchestra. You're like the orchestra conductor, right? You're trying to manage the outputs from the agency. So that is where this whole thing works. A typical structure here again. So you start off with the bottommost rung in the value chain here. It's the account executive. Under that, you might have a management trainee or whatever. But account executive is a guy who's working on an account. Like, for example, I used to be on Dhara, for example, right? Dhara was my account. I used to also work on the other 2 or 3 other small agencies when I moved. So when you start off, typically you'll have you're doing stuff for one account if it's large account. Then you move up as senior AE. Senior AE typically will have one or two executives under you, and then you manage 3 or 4 brands. I remember I used to have Dhara. I got Sera Sanitaryware. Sera Sanitaryware was a much smaller brand at that point in time in Ahmedabad. I was in Ahmedabad, by the way. And then I worked on glycodin cough syrup and just small things, right? So they were not very large for the account at that point in time. And then you move to account supervisor. Supervisor will have a few senior AEs, and he's a much bigger guy than the account director. So then the whole thing tapers up. So typically, the account executive would be a fresh grad from MBA school, B school, and then they move up this whole chain. And great thing is obviously the advantages of being an account executive at this point in time, then how it changes. You get exposed to multiple facets of the functioning of agency and the end customer, because you pretty much are tied to the client, right, to the account, right? So you live and breathe that one brand as much as the account. So you're like an extended team of the customer, right? So you know as much as them. You're in meetings with them. You're doing market surveys. You are testing. You are meeting customers. You pretty much are doing a lot of stuff, and you pretty much an extended arm of the client. So this is how these folks work. And as you grow up, obviously your other skills come into picture, which is where you're handling people, you're understanding the business, understanding finance, multiple things, right? So you're the guy who's running this whole business for the agency. Then comes the creative function. Creative is, as I said, very important, the heart of, because finally what comes out, what meets the eye is the output of the agency, right? And agencies are, I wouldn't say are good, bad, ugly, whatever, depending on what kind of output they do. For example, the big agencies like Ogilvy and Mather, for example, right? O&M. Now O&M has iconic advertising happening for them from the past. The Cadbury advertising and so many other stuff, right? Mudra used to do the pole advertising. So does all these people. So that's what I'm saying. So it's all about what the output is and how great your folks have understood the briefs and understood stuff and really done a great job. So, and here again, as I said, right? So they do creative outputs have various manifestations. You do the regular print stuff. You do print, television, radio. These days, digital. You do banner advertising. You do SEM, SEO, programming, multiple things. Right. So basically, the function has also evolved, and it has become far more technical than what it was. So also, creative doesn't mean that you guys, oh, you're sitting in a corner of a room or wherever in a thing and having in your own spaces, whatever, and trying to come up with some brilliant ideas. It doesn't happen. So yeah, you have to give spaces to these people, but you also are part of the whole ecosystem of the agency, right? So again, here broadly, the structure is as follows. So you have copy and visual. So copywriters and art directors or visualizers, whatever you might call them. Multiple agencies about multiple, I would say, nomenclatures, but broadly, this is what it is. Copy will have a copywriter, and copy will also have a language copywriter. Copywriter, typically, you're expected to be a guy who's writing in English, but you also have language people. As I said, we're not any single language country, right? So multiple languages spoken in the country, and these days with such large fragmented media and big stuff happening in each of the states, maybe what you'd write in Telugu or Tamil or in Marathi will be very different, right? So you don't necessarily have to sometimes think in English. So therefore, you need to have prowess in other languages as well. So visualizer designers are people, are creative people, and IDs are visual arts people who can think visually. And then you have visual head, copy head, creative directors. So the servicing and creative are like working in tandem. They have to, otherwise your output doesn't happen. So give me a minute. So these are people who are servicing and the creative have to be in complete sync. Great brief delivered to poor, I won't call whatever a creative team, the output is poor, right? Likewise, great creative team, but extremely poor briefs come in, then the output is not good. So you have to challenge each other every time. So these guys, the creative guys, have to ask the right questions. These guys so basically, it is something that has to work completely in sync, in unison, right? Otherwise, outputs are bad. So and therefore, it's a very important thing that the DNA of the agency is defined by how well you manage these both functions. Yeah. Media planning buying is extremely critical again these days. With in my time, there used to be, if I had to put something on television, put in Doordarshan, on say Mahabharat time, although on Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, whatever, and the whole world watches you, right? As simple as that. So I need to launch a product. I want to say I want the whole of India to watch me. Most expensive slot would be Mahabharat or whatever on Sunday afternoon. The media guy's job is done, right? He doesn't have to do anything more. So, but today, with the evolution of multiple hundreds of channels on television, on OTT and digital, and our behaviors are so changing, and the customers, we don't know. There's so much science behind understanding them, right? It's so fragmented. So, and plus at the same time is a challenge in terms of how do I ensure that I reach the right people with the most optimal budgets, right? So obviously, none of the media spends, or none of the companies have infinite budgets. So you have finite budgets, and therefore, how do you ensure that you do the best? Therefore, planning and buying in this space is completely, it's taken a, like I would say, whatever this function has changed the most in the agency, I would say, the leaps and bounds, because what used to be very, very Excel sheets and a few tools here and there, but now it's become extremely complicated, very, very scientific, very, very data driven. A lot of analysis happens, a lot of analytics happens, multiple things. So this is very important. So as I said, again, planning and buying, so there are two functions here. Planning people are the folks who get assigned a budget, and they're the guys who are formulating the plan. When I say plan, they will say, okay, if I have to reach young students, how do I reach them? So that is a challenge. So then if I go, okay, can I reach them through Instagram, or reels, do I do hoardings, or what television, which television programs, how many times should they say it, what radio? Likewise, if I have to reach middle-aged, 40 to 50, whatever, for brand of shirt, for example, premium shirt. Maybe they will listen to radio when they're driving, or maybe they read Economic Times, maybe they read Economist, maybe they whatever. So, but they check out these. So basically, you're trying to figure out. But the planning folks pretty much give you the plan. Okay, for you to reach this task, these objectives, and this segment, whatever, for these outcomes, this is what you should do. And that suggests basically what magazines should you put in, how many times should you put it in, likewise, how many channels, how many times should be seen, what times of the day, blah, blah. That's the plan. The buying folks are the folks who are then negotiating. Buying folks are the folks who have the best connections with the corporate, whatever, the media houses. For example, if I have to buy for this campaign, for example, if I have to buy space in, say, Times of India, these are the folks who are negotiating. So they negotiate, okay, now why? Usually all of them have a rate card. Times of India has a rate card. Likewise, every print has a rate card. Rate card 100 rupiah hai, so how do I negotiate and get this? Because obviously you are buying in bulk, and these folks buy for the agency. Suppose not only one account, but they say, okay, I'm going to buy 60,000 seconds of spots from, say, Star World. All the 60,000 don't go to one account, right? But I'm buying on behalf of multiple people, so therefore I'm able to. The more you buy, the more leverage. As simple as that. So they are the guys who are doing the best in terms of getting the optimal savings for the client, at the same time getting the best bang for the buck. Yeah. So broadly, this is what the agency does: prepare plans, prepare the schedule. They do, and therefore this is also very, very metric driven these days. You have. I don't know if I'm going to ever take. I usually take another class on media metrics, offline media metrics, TRPs, GRPs, how it's measured, how print is measured. So the measurements is that whole thing, right? So these guys drive and own. So media agencies become media functions become very much more, I would say, quantitative. So people who come here typically are with statistics, maths backgrounds, understand tools, understand Excel sheets, can connect the dots between multiple things. That's the kind of competencies these guys come with, right? So broadly, the structure is you'll have, as I said, a planning function and the buying function. So they're the two functions that work in tandem again. In the planning, these days you have my time only one planning guy, whatever. But now you have conventional media and the digital media. It's completely different competencies and backgrounds, right? So so you require people to understand both the mediums extremely well. Likewise, you might have somebody who buys them separately together, but broadly, this is the media. But I'm showing you very simplistic structures. Obviously, there are the other folks who come into the picture, and different agencies have a little more flavors of this, but this is broadly what it is. Production, as I said, production typically are the folks who understand what goes behind these things, like printing, for example. I'm just saying the client wants to print 10,000 books, booklets, whatever. Now, how do you go about it, right? So while the creative folks, the art creative guys, they write and they lay it out on the computer as a file, but now how does it get translated? So somebody needs to understand the printing, what goes behind. What kind of paper should I use? Should I use 130 GSM or 180 GSM? Should I use a gloss paper? Should I use a matte paper? Should I use Xander's art, or should I use Indian art? Like those kind of things. Should I use spot varnish, or should it be bound this way, or should it be portrait, what size, blah, blah. Because that is where a lot of things come into picture. Like, for example, what is the most optimal use of the paper? Am I using paper which I'm wasting paper, therefore making the cost higher? Likewise, I want to produce a television serial. I want to print ads. So these guys are the people who negotiate, figure out these vendors. They have a lot of things. Obviously, the production function is completely outsourced, because a lot of things obviously we don't do, because there will be printers, specialists, scanners, specialists who make television, editing studios, multiple. These are the folks who do all the stuff. Yeah, so very specialized, because again, people who come here typically have these kind of backgrounds, and they've been working on this function for a long time. They understand the nitty-gritties of what goes behind. So again, a different but very, very critical function, because this is where you save a lot of costs. You're offering the customers, offering the clients a little more innovative stuff. What is possible? For example, sometimes you'll find you find these shampoo sachets, sachet, whatever, stuck onto newspaper and sent to you, like sample. Now, those things are, how do you create that, right? Somebody is actually thinking about enabling those things. That is where these production folks come in. Yeah. So, yeah, this is something. Yeah. Okay, cool. Then comes the research folks, right? Now, research folks again are critical because sometimes you do stuff like testing for advertising. When I say testing, I've created this film. I created this 30-second television commercial. But before I blow up 10 crores behind it, I'd like to have some research. I do focus groups. I do small research. I'll call women, if it's housewives, I'll show these ads to say 50 women, take some responses, do focus groups, show this ad, print ad, say this is good or this is A/B testing. So research folks do those kind of stuff as well. Plus they do market research in terms of figuring out potential for a product, for example. Suppose I'm just saying, if Rasna were to get into energy drink, is there a potential for the product at all? I want to launch aloe vera gel face shampoo. Aloe vera gel shampoo. Is there a potential for that? Because before I get into production and making it, is there a potential for launching a socks made of some kind of special water plastic? Anything, right? So they do market assessments, market estimations, multiple things, right? So this is an important function, but at the same time, they do campaign testing, A/B testing, and multiple other things, right? So they basically, and these folks typically would come from backgrounds which are again maths, quant backgrounds, and it's a complete hierarchy by itself. And there are specialist agencies like you would have heard of IMRB and AC Nielsen and those folks also, and who also do research and whatever for campaigns and brands and everything else. And then the other functions, as I said, I'd mentioned earlier, are public relations, which is completely an important and like a robust function by itself. You have specialized PR agencies these days. There are agencies who only thrive as doing PR, or agencies or other functions within the agency who also offer this as a service to the clients. PR is critical, and research, direct to home, out of home, event management, digital marketing. So multiple things. Event management is also picking up large, right? So all these functions again you have. So all these are also they can also be specialist agencies, or you tie with agencies, and that whole ecosystem helps you do the same thing for a brand. Any doubts? Any questions? Anything that you want explanation? All good? Somebody say yes.
It's clear so far.
Good, cool. Then you have digital, right? Digital again is the world by itself. I'm sure all you folks would be already heavily into digital. You know what how this works. SEM, SEO, multiples, metrics, queries. So one of this, okay, so this transition that I've seen in my 25 years experience, right, is how roles have changed in the marketing functions, right, or be it in agencies, wherever. So today, I cannot just say that I only know I am a great marketing guy, I understand brands. Too bad, nothing happens, right? You will need to be also digitally enabled. You should be able to ask the right questions, if not do it yourself. You should understand the medium. You should understand how Twitter works. You should understand how LinkedIn works. You should understand how Instagram Reels work, or whatever Reels works, or Instagram works, whatever, right? So all these things. Now and you should know what are the outcomes. How do you drive metrics? What in the earlier times, your metrics were very different, and now these metrics are extremely different. So, and therefore, the kind of competencies, or kind of roles, or kind of types of people who are getting into the marketing function are very different from what used to be before, right? I just cannot say that, I'm a great creative person. You have to understand the medium. The creative person also has to think the medium. What can work as a LinkedIn ad may not work as a Twitter thing. That what works in Twitter doesn't work in some short format videos. How do I create some things that are happening on the screen the moment I click, whatever, right? So I need to understand the medium. I should understand. Only then am I a better creative person than just writing, okay, saying Kalbi, Ajbi, Kalbi, and you figure it out types. That Kalbi, Ajbi, Kalbi has to now be figured out, okay, who sees what and how do I customize that, right? So therefore, this is an extremely important function. So as our marketeers, future marketeers that you would be, and brand managers and owners and run large companies yourselves, don't discount the power of the medium, because whatever creative in isolation may be good, but sometimes doesn't work in the medium that you want to actually reach out to. Therefore, and different mediums are used by different kinds of people, and therefore understanding the contextuality of the medium is extremely important. So please be aware of this, and it's an important thing to remember all the time. Yeah. And then, as I said, types of agencies, right? So types of agencies, what you have something called, what the first one is called a full service agencies. Like, for example, Liverpool, O&M, DDB, all these guys are full service. Means you go to one agency, they pretty much will give you all the things that you want, starting from creative services, planning, media, production, print, digital, events, pretty much everything. So everything that you want will be done by one agency, one PO, whatever, and you're done. But then you have the other stuff, which is the creative boutiques. The creative boutiques are the guys who only will do creative stuff. So irrespective, they will not get into anything else. They'll, for example, be two hotshot creative guys, a copy guy and a art guy would just team up and say, let's start an agency which we want to do only creative. So people do that because sometimes what happens is the large agencies or the regular agencies are like completely choked. They're not able to provide anything, no creative inputs. You want to figure out, let's try a different set of, pick brains from different people, right? So you go to these kind of people. What they do is they give you fresh perspectives and give you some refreshing ideas. And that's how creative boutiques survive. Those guys only do the creative stuff. They don't do anything else. They don't produce, they don't execute, they don't nothing. Then there's something called in-house agencies. This is interesting because so a lot of large conglomerates, right? Like, say, for example, Reliance or Tatas or whatever, who else? Adani's, whatever, right? So all these folks will have in-house agencies. When it's in-house agencies, if you see a Reliance, for example, will have so much media being bought for the Regio, for all the customer-facing stuff, right? They must be buying media in thousands of crores in the year. They must be producing multiple pieces of creative that's needed. So, for example, Reliance Fresh, tomorrow I need to launch a small ad says, potatoes are off 20%. Or Reliance Jio will be launching a phone saying, Diwali offer, phone, buy one phone, get one phone free. I'm just saying, making up something, right? Now, buy one, get one free for a phone is nothing very creative, right? I mean, not that it should require major creative inputs and say, oh, how should I? It is the topicality of the ad sometimes. I need the ad to come tomorrow. Or maybe I need the ad to appear like today afternoon. I think tomorrow the ad should be in newspapers across the country. And for that, you need to have quick service, quick turnarounds. I cannot fall back some time on my traditional agency because I briefed them, that guy, the servicing guy will go back to the agency, he will brief the creative guy, the creative brief. No time for all that bullshit. So I need to have quick stuff. Mereko abhi kal chahiye. So what they do is they typically employ and keep like a replica of an agency inside Reliance, for example. Okay, I'm giving an example. They might have some creative people, some art guys, Max, geeks, production, all these guys. Ad chahiye, fatafat, okay, Diwali hai, Diwali ka diya char lagao, ek photo lagao, one lady with the phone or one man with the phone, write 30% off or buy one, get one free, tuck, buy now, buy tomorrow, put all the dealers' names, that's it. That's what the ad works, right? It's hard-working ad. They're not looking at anything very creative. So those kind of things, they get done in in-house agencies. Plus, in-house agencies, also the critical thing is they do a lot of media negotiations, media buying. So that basically it saves the agencies, saves the companies a lot of money. They don't necessarily have to part with all the savings themselves when they do such large buys. So in-house agencies, I can give an example. Mudra Communications, when it started off many years ago, started off as the in-house agency for Vimal. Vimal was one of the brands for Reliance, if you remember, iconic advertising at that point in time. So it started off as their in-house agency, and then what happened that the in-house agency became so nice and creative and big. They said, okay, why don't we make money out of this? And they said, okay, now you guys go and live on your own feet and call yourself an agency, whatever. But it started out of in-house agency. That's what I'm saying. So in-house agencies also can become, but otherwise, that is broadly the function of an in-house agency. Specialist agencies obviously are the folks who do specialized services like digital marketing agencies or event management agencies or things that the people who do analytics, targeting, those kind of things. Basically, these are new age agencies which come up and do different kinds of solving one particular puzzle, one particular offering in the whole media chain. But because usually these are more technically driven competencies that are not there in the full service agency, not at the regular agency. So these are the ones that have come up now these days. This is broadly the types of agencies that are in operation at this point in time as we speak. Any questions, doubts, anything, any clarifications needed? Am I good? People say yes,
Good,
no.
sir.
Good, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, there's some questions in the freelancers. Sorry.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please.
What separates the great agencies with the average one? Because even Mudra was once an agency. TBWA works for Apple, but the others, they don't. And Apple has a very clear high standards for things. What separates TBWA so much, sir? Thank you.
No, good question. So I'll tell you this, right? So when I joined agencies, joined the agency, for me at that point in time, my career aspiration was to join an agency, and within that, Mudra. Because for me, Mudra was like Google for me. That was the most top one. Because one, it had really top people at that point in time. They were doing absolutely great, wonderful advertising, great people, aspirational people, top B schools from IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Calcutta, whatever. Right? So all good set of people. So it was like a place that I wanted to belong. And basically prompted me to what? I'm sort of talking about early mid-90s, right? So, and output that point in time, and we were winning the advertising agency awards back like many brands used to win, and we used to produce some absolutely wonderful advertising. And it's all about the team, right? I mean, finally, how, as I said, the servicing, creative, and all the functional agencies just come together and create magic. Like, for example, Piyush Pandey of Ogilvy and Mather. He's an iconic guy, a guy who did the Fevicol ads, the guy who's done the Cadbury's ads. Now he's a one-man legend. Now when you say legend, he's a guy who connects, and he's a guy who can come up with ideas that no ordinary people can come in, right? So this is while it seems like highly individual-driven effort. Agencies are can be looked as individuals who are driving it, but I would say that sometimes not all superheroes are required to create great advertising. Even average people coming together for a great purpose and putting in the right efforts and everything. Sometimes things have to just work together. Sometimes the client also has to take risks. If you do safe advertising, you get safe outputs. Safe outputs will give you safe results. Safe results are not spectacular, right? Sometimes it is a combination of what the client believes. It is a combination of how the agencies come up with something absolutely wonderful, how they push the client to believe in what it is, how you do what you do, and all of it has to work. So and that happens rarely. I mean, when you produce great advertising. So today, for example, I'm just saying that if you Sunday newspaper, if you read the newspaper today, there are some, I don't know, hundreds of ads in the newspaper. The Times of India is that thick. Pretty much nothing stands in your mind, right? But some advertising stick in your mind. You see it once, you know what it is. You listen to the jingles, you know what it is. You see some, and that is what magic is of advertising. It's just not creative at times. How do you connect? How do you say it? How do you relate to your end customer at a point in time? Like you said, Apple or Nike. Now TBWA did the one ad for Macintosh breaking whatever appeared once during Super Bowl. Even now people talk about it. Only once it appeared, only once. But there are ads that comes bombard your head every time you want to skip and go away. I don't know, nothing registers, right? So that's what I'm saying. It is about magic, and as I said, magic. These are at times, while you judge it by the creative process itself, but there's a lot of things that happen behind also have to be working fine. The research, the agent, the planning team, the client. More important, the client has to believe. Sometimes the agencies come with some great ideas. The client says, "No, yaar, let's not take the risk," because they will not believe in it, or they will not just want to do it. They don't want to put the money into it, right? The idea just falls. I mean, so many good ideas can just get killed because the client doesn't believe in it or wants to accept. Yeah, it's a combination of all of that. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Sanna, right? Yeah.
Yes, thanks a lot, sir. I want one more thing from
Sure,
you.
sure, sure. Good.
I come from a language background and from copywriting standpoint, and I see, I mean, from iPhone 1 to iPhone 13, 14, they have been writing consistently amazing statements, short bits, but amazing statements. How are they able to even do that? I mean, it's just beyond my mind. I know it's not very relevant to this particular topic right now. How are these agencies managing that level of sensationalizing content, kind of giving it the hype and hyperbole? They're living on the hyperbole every day.
That's the difference between great, as you said, a great agency putting great work versus an average agency trying to. I'm just saying, for example, it's a combination of great product. iPhone is a great product, working with some great advertising and path-breaking advertising. They did, when they launched, they were wow. And they continued. You need to continue to be wow. The wowness of what was wow, say 15 years ago with iPhone 1 is not wow anymore. You need to be wow and be relevant to the customers at any point in time. Tomorrow, when 10 years time, if there's iPhone 25, if I lose touch with my end customers, I may not be wow again. Right? And for me to be wow, and therefore, in fact, one of the classes that I take and talk about this is basically as advertising folks, right? In fact, I remember when I was in advertising, a rookie at that point in time, the chairman used to be the gentleman called A.G. Krishnamurthy. A.G. Krishnamurthy is a legend. He passed away a few years ago. He started Mudra and all that stuff. Very simple man from a very normal background. No fancy degrees, no IMs, nothing, right? Very normal man. His connect and understanding was very intuitive. He used to always tell us, right? All the servicing, everybody in the agencies, boss, every Friday, a movie, new movie releases, go and watch the movie. As marketers, I think that I still would want you to watch, because as marketers and copywriters and whatever, movies are true reflection of what is happening in our society now, or point in life, right? That's what you say, right? For example, I'm just saying, for example, if you look at movies, 50s, 60s, bell bottoms, big collars, blah, blah, right? The way they talk, Bauji, Aiye, Baithiye, what was fun, what was yo then is not yo now, because yo now is the language. People speak different language. People wear different things. Hey, bro. Hey, this is meh. This is be. The kids speak different language. What is nice? What is wow or yo? Then is not. That's what I'm saying. If as a marketer, as a creative person or an agency, whoever you are, in the marketing world, if you're not connected with what your customers are consuming, then you are completely dead meat, right? You have to know what is happening. For example, I'm just saying. Like, for example, Dil Chahta had that small triangle Shah Rukh Khan came with. That became cool, right? Everyone tried to. So today, for example, what you wear and how you, today, trousers are 3 inches above your ankle, or 2 inches above your ankle, right? You wear leather shoes without socks. You wear whatever. What are the cooler trends? I may be a little older than you folks are, but I completely know what is in line and what is happening. I always listen to my son, what kind of language. My son and daughter speak to each other. I sometimes find new words. Oh, really? This is, and they're completely comfortable talking to them. But as a marketer, as an agency person, if you think you are creative, and if you're not in sync with that, obviously you're not in touch with your customers. Then you can't communicate. For you to communicate, you have to be talking to them in their language, right? That's what I'm saying. So these are small elements of how agencies or people or whoever you are in the value chain of the creating great advertising, you have to be in that value chain, be relevant, know what is happening. If you're out of sync, you're gone. So you're not doing, or you cannot ever produce great stuff, right? So that's what it is.
Thanks a lot. It's
a long answer for a short question.
Send you a connection request on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Sorry?
I will send a connection request on LinkedIn, sir. Thank you.
Yes,
I'll stay in touch.
Look forward. Pooja's freelancers are they creative? Freelancers, again, depending on how freelancers are today, you can call yourself, two people can freelance and call yourself an agency, whatever. Yeah, pretty much. I would say in the continuation, you start as a freelancer, then you become you graduate to become an agency someday, somewhere down the line. Yeah, that's okay. No worries. Okay. Okay, cool. So if no questions, let's move on, and then we'll stop by for a little more something later. So we're already 1 hour, is it? Oh, okay, cool. So we will quickly go through all the other stuff. This we spoke about. Okay, so this also we spoke about in some detail as to how full service agencies function. What are the advantages of being a full service agency? In-house agencies, we also understood what they do, how they save costs. Primarily, it is more in-house agencies bring more efficiency in being faster, quicker, and obviously in-house agency only handles one brand. That's the only in-house brand, right? You don't do anything else. So obviously for you, what happens, in-house agencies can't attract better talent because whoever comes from good B school will not want to go to in-house agencies because he was only working on one brand, right? So obviously a lot of advantages and disadvantages of being in-house or otherwise, right? Okay, so understand how agencies work in terms of financial perspective. So in the past, agencies started off as something called commissions. So agencies used to enjoy a 15% commission. 15% was standard at this point in time. For example, if I worked with a client, the client said, okay, let's do advertising for 100 rupees. Okay, the agency helped the customer place 100 rupees worth of, for example, print advertising in Times of India. Since I'm an agency, I pay Times of India only 85 rupees. And the 15 rupees is mine. Basically, dalali. You are dalal, you are trying to take 15% as a commission on media. Because that 15% covered your expenses of people, getting them the creative services, all that you do in between, giving them gyan, giving them stories, giving them ideas, whatever. 15% became your cost, your cost structure. The more efficiently and you made money. Therefore, 15% commission came from the media. So that was a sacrosanct thing. So that was media, print, television, whatever. For every 100 rupees, you saved 15 rupees. Right? So that is how agencies function. Okay, so basically, the other thing I'd like to explain to you is so all the creative services, you had 15%. So the non-creative services, all the media services, all 15%. For the non-media services, for example, I got a voiceover. I got Amin Sahani or Amitabh Bachchan to do a voiceover for the thing. So he's not obviously media, but it's a service that I've got for you as a client. So you multiply. So there are two numbers. So you always have remembered agency servicing guys would remember two numbers. One is 15% as a commission from 100 to whatever, or you in a markup. For example, I got somebody for example 85 ko 100 karna hai, so you would multiply that by 17.65%. So 85 becomes 100 when you multiply. Basically, I'm marking up, right? I'm marking 15%. So one is a gross and net and marking up. So as simple as that. So no major maths. So so this is how you now use the numbers, and basically this whole agency structure commission used to be working in a 15% sort of a regime. Over the years, what happened is competition came in, people work differently, people started negotiating multiple rate structures, people undercut each other. मैं 15 पे नहीं, मैं 12 में काम करूंगा, 12 में नहीं, I'll work for 10 became whatever. So lots of people undercut each other. Therefore, so that whole thing went down a spiral, right? So 15% never became a sacrosanct thing anymore, number one. Number two, then there innovative things came about. Then there were things like retainer fees. Retainer fees basically saying that, okay, I will give you 2 lakh rupees a month to the agency. मैं कुछ भी काम करा लूंगा. It is not task based, but I give you standard amount of fee, and then you have to give me X amount of work depending on high, low, whatever. I'll have to then whatever. Then came the innovative stuff like outcome-based compensation. For example, the agency will, for example, the client will say, we're launching this new shoe. If this shoe reaches, say 100,000 pairs being sold, I will give you 20%, 10% more, whatever. I'll give you now X, I'll give you more later. I will give you equity, some multiple things. So now it is all completely how you negotiate, how you figure out a structure, how you want to compensate for the effort that you do. So obviously with the change in dynamics and change in the way things happen, how agencies evolved, how structures evolved, even the commission structures got evolved. So basically compensations also took a very, very different turn. So now it is all about what makes best, what you also figure out media purchase, and typically what is also happening is people, even the agencies now pass back a lot of commissions back, not commissions, pass back the savings on media back to the customer. And so there's a complete hodgepodge. There's no one way that's working now. Yeah, so that is what it is. So this is very different world altogether. So the structures and image agency, working agency dynamics of how they get compensated. Any questions here? Anybody not understood this particular piece? Are we okay here? Yeah. Okay. As I said, so these are all percentage charges, fees, incentive, blah, blah, right? So there are things that keep on moving. Look at the agency workflow, right? Agency workflow typically, okay, this is a picture I picked from some place, but yeah, so this is most of these work in some formats, but the whole idea is that the agency starts with account managers somewhere here, number one. They go through what they interact with the clients, they get the briefs, they get into the creative teams. Usually there's a lot of back and forth. For example, big campaigns, you go and you iterate multiple times because you don't want to get into a direction. Or, for example, okay, I'm just giving an example. Let's see how this works. Let me pull back. For example, I'm just saying I want to launch a new shoe, for example, made out of specialty leather for say young working executives. Okay, getting into offices, colleges, whatever. Okay, just out of colleges. Now, for example, for this, if I were to, so it's just not that it's not that the client just came to juta banaunga. They would have done some kind of market assessment. They've understood competition. These are 15 kinds of shoes available. These are price points available. There's no, this is probably a gap, the space for an organic leather shoe between 1,000 rupees and 1,500 rupees for these kind of people. So you have pretty much identified a niche, that whole segment or that whole market segment, right? And then with that details, you brief the servicing guys. The servicing guys and understand, okay, this is the potential, this is the kind of people, this kind of who will buy, who are the decision makers, what do they do today? Aaj ka kharidte hain, what will this new shoe replace? Multiple. Is it trendy? As I said, just right. Am I making shoes which are the old type fuddy-duddy shoes? I'm making some cool shoes, whatever, right? So you figure out, okay, and then you say, okay, this is the kind of shoe you want to launch. Now that shoe getting launched is translated from the client to the servicing team. The servicing team understands this whole dynamic of what kind of shoe gets launched. They then brief the creative people. The creative process is a longer process. Creative process is something that requires a lot of time because you can't sometimes hasten the whole process. So you brief these people, you give them insights. The planning folks get in. The planning folks says, okay, maybe the newer colors in the shoe is not tan, but now the velvety material with pinks and blues are in vogue, whatever, you figure out, right? So do research, they give you all the insights. Then the creative folks are actually getting, okay, ye blue shoe dikhana, what kind of shoe should I, what kind of guy should be there? Now the latest trend, for example, is guys with beards and all that stuff, the yo guys, right? Okay, should you be wearing this? How do you, maybe the shoe, maybe the copywriter will think that, this shoe works magic on you and, you'll have whatever, girls will soon over you, whatever, some like language with a sound and music, whatever, dance, whatever. Now these things are the ones that seem quite frivolous at times the way I'm explaining, but it is a long process. People come with multiple lines, multiple iterations, multiple back and forths. There is a big process happening in the background. The agency is really working tooth and nail, day and night, 24/7, just creating whatever. And each time you take a direction, for example, if you say, okay, shall we do this A, B, C, D, you sometimes go back to the client and say, okay, this is what we're working on. These are directions, whatever that. Somewhere you need to have the sync because finally the client is who's spending the clothes on you, right? And this process has multiple iterative steps, client feedbacks, approvals, layouts. And then finally you do your analysis. You also give the client feedback. Say, okay, we showed this ad to 15 people, they liked it. 20% said good, 30% said something excellent, 90% said they will definitely buy the shoe, whatever, right? So all this collaborative karke, the agency says, okay, this is a campaign that's going to work. Please put in your 30 crores on this campaign. We will do then print, television, whatever, and then execute. So that is how this whole work process works. The reason I'm telling you this is a lot of times the misconception about agencies, the way they function is, मतलब कोई ऐसा सोच के ऐसा एक तुक्का मारा, मतलब something has come out top of somebody's head and it's just become a great idea. No, there are a lot of science, a lot of thinking, a lot of analysis, a lot of actual hard work happens between after it's briefed and what comes out. A lot of stuff happens because multiple people are involved, multiple stakeholders, multiple competencies. You do great things there, and that is where the real magic. For example, like what Prasanna asked, right? So if this process is shortchanged and not given its due importance, then the output is basically garbage in, garbage out. So you put in better stuff, you get better stuff out, right? Again, coming to culture, quickly, I'll tell you about what agency cultures are about. So it's again, so the misconception again in my times used to be agency, matlab sab everybody's having a smoke in the office, matlab no accountability, creative folks are floating around, nobody comes to the office, they're all wearing torn jeans, matlab long hair. No, that is a very, very wrong misconception about agencies. Maybe and that is what it is. It's stereotyped about that. So agencies are really very defined in their own function. They seem chaotic because a lot of things are not in the control at times, right? Because you're dependent on multiple individuals, multiple people in the agency to coordinate and do a lot of stuff. So basically, there's a lot of people trying to be in control. Who's in control? Creative guys in control or the account guys in control? Creative like I need more time. The client servicing guys will say, okay, you have no time because the client is expecting whatever client output in such stuff. Basically, it's about a fine balance, right? So who does what, how do you ensure that there's a lot of seamless coordination and therefore you're able to get output out, and therefore obviously managing client pressures and expectations. So agencies can get sometimes very quickly out of control, but sometimes within that out of control mayhem and mess, some absolutely great work happens, and some stunning work happens. So agencies not necessarily are, I would say, chaotic places, but there's a lot of method in the madness that seems from the outside. Last segment, let's talk about careers in advertising. Any questions till now before we get into this segment? All be okay?
So I just have a curiosity.
Yeah.
That is, who fixes actually the 15% actually advertising charges?
15%, okay, 15% almost, but 15% is okay. So when you're accredited agency, so all agencies are part of a accreditation called your Indian Advertising as some council as a question. If you are part of the accredited agency, the media guys, the Times of India's, whatever, the media houses are the agency. So it's understanding between them. If I'm accredited agency, I will get 15% from the media house. That is what it is. Because I'm not, you and me can be an agency and we say Times of India 15% though and non-accredited, they will not get. You have to be an accredited agency to get the 15% benefit. But obviously that 15% no longer.
So it changes from country to country, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's not, it's completely India-based thing. So every agency, every country, every geography might have different stuff. Yeah. Cool. So careers in advertising, right? So again, so the reason this is my personal experience, right? Again, I can only reflect on what I have done and I can give you some nuggets from there. When I started off, so one, I was excited about being in marketing. I had options to be in FMCG sales, which I did for a while, but sorry. Anybody saying something? Okay. So yeah, but I wanted advertising because I wanted to be exposed to multiple brands and multiple things happening, the creative process. I thought I was not that I was creative or whatever, but I knew I could contribute. I was excited about being part of this whole creation process, right? Because what really what is one of the biggest satisfactions of advertising is you are actually part of a creation process. Like for example, launch, creating a brand or launching something new is happening all the time. You're not just doing the obvious stuff of selling stuff, right? So that was one big motivation. So in that way, agencies give you that satisfaction or platform to really create, build, take ownership. More importantly, get exposed to multiple brands, multiple segments of customers, multiple geographies, multiple emotions, and that probably, I think for me, it worked very well when I was in the earlier stages of my career. The first 6-7 years, I think absolutely great. It offered me a great platform to learn and be exposed to multiple things. And later on, as I progressed in my career, right, I think those experiences and those learnings stayed with me, and I really appreciate that. I did a lot of. I think it really helped me. The servicing typically would be, as I said, servicing are the guys who manage the agency. They are the folks who would eventually become the country. Whatever the CEO for the agency will be usually be a CEO, a servicing. But these days you also have creative people coming in. But yeah, servicing people are the guys who are calling the shots in terms of the money. They are the guys who are owning the agencies, are driving the financial aspects of the agencies as well. And people who typically get in, as I said, would be marketing MBAs and those kind of people. Planning, again, marketing MBAs with little more bent on little research, they're the guys who know a little bit of everything and they're able to connect the dots. They're a little more analytical. They're guys who can think logically. So they're the guys who can give those kind of stuff. Media, again, is maths. Media, as I said, would be guys who are comfortable running tools, comfortable with software, comfortable with little, and basically number crunching. So they know what's happening, how to read various reports, create reports, those kind of stuff. Social digital is completely new, and this is a complete new avatar, new sort of animals have come in now, who are basically who understand the media very well. They know SEM, SEO. They should know how Google ads work. They should know how YouTube ads work. They should know how LinkedIn works, Facebook works, how people do what. So that's a completely new domain of experts who come in. Creative, as I said, creative would be people with backgrounds and who have, I know people are top B school MBA guys also have come into creative and doing well, but it is about their calling in life. But you should be not forced to be a creative guy. So you should know what you should be, what you can do being creative. But otherwise, yeah, but you should have good prowess in language. You should have good prowess in visual arts, whatever, right? So, and plus, as I said, understanding the medium. So mediums these days extremely critical because you need to know what works well, what does where, those kind of things. So nothing works in isolation. So, but anyways, I mean, so this is broadly tell you what the options are available. But otherwise, happy to ask. I'm happy to answer questions if you have anything in terms of anybody contemplating changes, shifts in his careers, or any experiences from people who've had any of these things that you've been before, or you want to explore things before. Always happy to guide you, help you in case you never need any help. But yeah, but somebody who was from Leo Burnett, I asked, I forget. Who can Leo Burnett said? Lady here. Pooja, right now. Or Somdat. Hello, who was in Leo Burnett? Rather, who is in Leo Burnett now? Anyways. But otherwise, any questions? I think pretty much done. So any questions, anything that you want more clarification on from either a career perspective or understanding perspective? What works, what doesn't work? Anything that you've seen differently than what I said? Yeah, anyone? Are you all okay? Anybody?
So this public relations, which category does it fall into in these?
Which category as in?
Like
which among?
there's servicing, planning, media. Generally, PR has its own stand, right, as a department. Or it falls into these.
So PR is a completely different function altogether. So PR populations is people who are, again, as I said, not are people who understand how the press and media functions work. How do I, for example, amplify a brand in press, not necessarily the advertising? How do I ensure that I'm writing articles in the media? How am I getting interviews? So that's a different, how do I interact with journalists? How do I know how do I get opportunities for my brand in this press, those kind of stuff, right? So it is a different ecosystem. This servicing, I mean, the PR folks manage the journalists and the media, the media ecosystem, and their motivations are different. So, but therefore, it's a completely different function. But again, usually what happens is the PR folks usually again come with mass media communication backgrounds or MBA in whatever, or even English literature, those kind of backgrounds, right? So yeah, but to your answer, it is different. It's a different function altogether.
But they use all these servicing, planning, media.
Yeah, they also do that.
All they're present in everything.
Yeah. So PR agencies also, you would go do servicing their clients, getting briefs from the clients. Then you go back and give back a media plan. This is how we should look like. This is how the articles look like. This is what we should do pre-launch, post-launch. How do I do influencer campaigns? How do I figure out what kind of material I should put wherever? So that they also do planning. They don't do so much media, but they don't really buy media. Okay, just difference between a PR and traditional agencies. PR, one is earned media, one is bought media, right? Earned media. Earned media is when you don't pay anything, right? Otherwise you buy media, right? So they tell you that the traditional advertising guys would buy, but the paisa they will buy. Here you're earning it because you actually influencing the journalist to write something nice about you. That is how they work. But it is not creative. Obviously, your outputs are not creative because you're not doing anything, designing, whatever. But it is more, yeah. But more or less in terms of the functions of how it works, it is pretty much all the same way. But yeah, but output is a little different in ways they interact.
They do the marketing part, right, sir? They are more connected to the marketing part than the creative part.
So okay. So in terms of when you do a campaign, right? When I do launch a campaign, for example, the shoe campaign. Now I do what I can do. I have a media budget. I'm spending 50 crores buying press, television, print, radio, whatever. I'm doing some campaigns on it, for which all the traditional agencies come in, whatever functions come in, which is I'm going to write, making print ads, television commercials, what I'm spending and putting it out. Same time, to make some kind of more mindshare influence on my customers, my audience, I also want to use media, which is PR, right? Which is where I'm going to brief the PR agency saying, okay, this is a shoe, for example, made of organic leather. It doesn't sweat. It doesn't give you what it gives the best look. It lasts for 15 years. Doesn't crinkle, whatever, what the good things. Now, those things, while you might say it in the print ad, it looks like you're selling it. While you put it in the media, it gives more credibility, right? Media article about leathers and say what is good. And that is what the PR professionals do. They get you mind share without trying to sell it, but how it is good and how how customers should buy. Now that whole process also will require, they have to work in tandem. So this PR function and agencies and everybody, the overall objective for the brand is to do multiple things. So when you say integrated communications, I'm sure you would learn that. So one is your print, television, radio, whatever, and also PR becomes a component of your integrated communication where you're trying to amplify the same messaging, but differently, but creating the larger purpose of what it should achieve. Yes, they all should work as a larger, when you say a marketing plan or launch plan, it should have components of what you do is your PR campaigns, press campaigns, television campaigns, in-store, outdoor, whatever, everything happens, that becomes completely integrated plan. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody?
Hi, I had one question. Can you hear me?
Yes. Who is this?
Yeah, this is Rajat.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Rajat.
Yeah. So right now I'm working in a startup. So I'm working as a content writer for the marketing team. And I'm pretty much the individual. I think the creative team is kind of small, and we work directly with the CEO of us. What would you suggest, like when I'm working with a startup, what should my focus be on? Is it like building the brand, or is it like trying to get more social media impressions? And what focus you think I should have as an individual creative?
Difficult to answer, my friend. So I don't know what the background is. I mean, it's not that I should say just some. No.
It's a fintech wealth management.
I can put my number on the chat here, and you guys can call me, WhatsApp, whatever. But yeah, I don't want to hazard any stupid answers here by just not knowing anything about it, right?
Okay.
Right, not fair on my part. Just say, don't drive impressions. I do not know anything about it, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. But yeah, happy to. So I'll tell you what. So this is not the last time. Sorry. So I have to tell you what should I say? What I'm saying is, it is not. It's not that I have all the answers, but yeah, with whatever work I've worked and whatever, I can give you some directions. But happy to help you guys. I mean, it is not anything that you think can work for you or can guide you, whatever I can help you. But yeah, but I'd love to hear from you in terms of what your challenges at this point in time can help you. Yeah. Anybody else has any views, points of views, differences, opinions? How things should be?
Again, a specific question, sir, just because you are here, I wanted to capitalize on this moment.
Sure.
I am actually already carrying 12 years of experience in learning and development team. I was good at languages, Spanish and English. I worked as a translator and all that. So I'm coming from a language standpoint. I would like to enter these interesting companies like Dentsu, Ogilvy, all these. When I see, I'm often at a confusion. How can I enter this? At what capacity? So I can't enter at an analyst role right now and grow in advertising. But I would like to have one leg into any of these creative industries, and that can't. So I'm already at a manager level. I'm heading towards a senior manager level now in some product companies. My company manufactures Durex. So I work in Reckitt, which is a brand of Durex, Move, Strepsils, and Dettol and Lysol and all that. I've always tried to get into, get one leg into the creative side of it, branding, marketing. Where do you think I can try that?
Again, yeah. So let's discuss this separately, whatever, because that's what I say. Everyone has a different journey, right? So everyone comes with a different background, different journey, different things that you come with, and different aspirations. It's what you want to do. Therefore, yeah, for the sake of having a detailed conversation, I'm happy to. You can message me anytime. We can block some time.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'd love to. That's what I'm saying. So it is. So while that's what I'm saying, right? So it's all about your. When you start off career, say the early 5 years or whatever I would say is like the learning phase, because that is when pretty much dabbling with what you've done. You might have made a couple of mistakes. You're not knowing where you want to go, this way, that way, whatever, right? But then after, I would say the 7th to 15th year is typically when you are consolidating phase. That is what you know broadly. Okay, this is what is my competence, or this is what I want to be known as. This is what I want to build my skills around. After that is when you really, after the 15th year, you're trying to grow, because that's when you already mature, you know what your core strength is. Then you are adding skills, multiple things, and then you are a little more broader in terms of your vision and what you can impact, right? But then, having said that, I don't want to generalize this, but then every individual has a different path, and everyone comes with a different set of aspirations and where you want to go ahead, right? And for which it cannot be saying, okay, no, this is the path you should all take. It doesn't fit that way. It's not fair. It's not a nice thing to say at all, because yeah. So in your case, as you said, you're a product guy. You work in MNC. You work on some very large brands. How do I do that? Because I would probably see that your path into being, or rather that you want to dabble with something creative, or you want to be part of the creative process or creative evolution, or the products or whatever outputs or whatever. Right? Maybe it'll be easier for you, the way I look at it, maybe than somebody else, because you probably have access to certain resources or be part of certain things, apply yourself as a stretch target, shadow somebody in the creative process, work with your own agency and say, dude, I want to learn this new. How do I be part of this? What do you guys do? It is all about somebody's initiative and drive and what you want to learn, right? So obviously it doesn't stop there. I mean, and learning, as I said, I'm sure, like as you said, this particular course all you guys are investing in is not the last course you'll ever do, right? I'm sure as you progress, you'll do many more courses. This is not, I mean, ek baar kar liya, so this becomes like magic and everything is learned, right? No, but tomorrow you'll find something else relevant. Tomorrow you might want to learn maybe something different and something new, maybe advertising in metaverse for all you know, right? So maybe that's going to be the trend, and all of us have to be relevant. So we have to learn upskill. Therefore, also it's about applying your learning, right? So for example, you might want to push yourself and saying, okay, I did this course from MICA, upGrad, whatever, and suddenly I put in LinkedIn and boom, everything happens. And because you done a creative course in advertising, whatever, people will not start offering you creative roles. Because then you have to figure out, okay, this is what I come with, this is my strengths are, this is what I want to be. And this is where maybe somebody will take a bet on you. Maybe, okay, this guy learns, he understands product, whatever, maybe he can add value in the creative process. Let him take this somewhere, right? But those things, in fact, I've had, but this probably when I've interacted with hundreds of students from this multiple courses of taking my upGrad, right? And I always, my phone number is always given to everyone. I have no qualms because I'll always love to interact with people and see how they can do it. But multiple people have, with my direction, have dropped something and changed completely different roles, and they're very happy doing whatever they're doing. So it is all about how you want to apply and what you want to do with your career and the learning. And therefore, while advertising creative process might seem fancy and interesting, it may not be. Maybe it's not. I mean, maybe it's not made for everyone. That's fine. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're good in something else, which is where you should focus. But yeah, but I'm saying, yeah. So again, short answer to your question is how you apply, how you figure out what makes sense to you. What juncture in your career are you in?
Any 2-3 books that you would recommend for people who are coming from, copywriting and, witty one?
Again, there are books. There are no books. Okay. I've not read any books in this space, not would I ever want to read, because again, I want to write a book about myself, right? Rather than why should I read somebody else's journey? Anyway, so yeah, I don't think there are any books that way that will define and give you any direction. But yeah, if I come across something, I'll let you know. Anything else, folks? Are you all good?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Have a nice rest of the Sunday and enjoy. I don't see the poll here though. Is there a poll anyone can see on top? Wait 1 second. Just before you leave, all of you just give me 1 more minute. Some feedback comes up on the thing, but there is no feedback here. Oops. Chat, new share. Oh, she never gave me a poll. What's the lady's name who was there on the class? Wait. Diksha, somebody, right? It's okay. Sure, no worries. There's no poll here, so we can't do the poll. So you take care. So enjoy your rest of the Sunday, and hope to be crossing paths someday in some of the class someday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sir.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.